Okay, first up is Hyungry.
Send you here for life. That's exactly what they take.
All right, so good job on this. Yeah, the opener's good. I won't really spend any more time on that. The render's looking good here. I think that you should, I don't, if you if you're going to re-render anything, I would simplify this camera move. It starts out pretty fast and it suddenly kind of slows down and backs up. Then it comes in really slow. Then it kind of swings around and shows sort of a weird angle where we're not seeing their faces, and then goes down to their feet, and then comes back up. It's just there's just too much going on. I think you should really simplify the camera movement, kind of a more consistent speed and direction, and kind of slow down until you get to a nice composition. And I don't think that that end shot is really great either. What they're kind of sort of looking at their feet. I think you could do a better shot there. So I would say kind of simplify that camera move at the beginning. The next issue, so the walk is working. It's looking good. I mean, you could get a little bit of like side to side motion, a little bit on the hips might be nice, and maybe get some wrists or get more natural pose for these fingers. Maybe get some wrist rotation in there, stuff like that. Um, but the walk's okay. One thing I'm noticing is this. If you look closely at the texture, it looks like it's swimming on the surface. And I can show you why that's happening, and there's an easy solution to fix that. I'll show you in my 2018 just because it'll show up a little better in here, but it's exactly the same in other versions of Maya. I'm going to right mouse click, assign new material. I'll use like a Fong or something, and let's go into that Fong and map color. I'll use leather, which is what I'm guessing you used, and you can see that on there. Um, and I think you probably also use that as the bump map. So to do that, I'll just go into my hypershade and excuse me, just map material on selected object, and just middle mouse drag this leather to bump mapping. Okay, all right, and you can see what that looks like. I'll just do like a Maya software render. Okay, well, it looks something like what you were using, I'm guessing. So the thing is that leather whoops, is a 3D texture. So when I'll just show you here. See these 2D textures, 3D textures. This is a list of all the 3D textures, and I'm thinking you chose leather. 3D texture sort of like has information that fills up the 3D space. So if I and it has what's called a place 3D texture node. So if I move this node around, it kind of see how it's like swimming. It's like the texture is moving through the object. I might show you with another one besides the leather, just because um, it might be easier to see because it does a better job showing it. So let me just do it one more time. But it's just another 3D texture. So again, I'll do Fong, um, but I'll use a marble, which is also a 3D texture. but it just kind of shows up a little clearer what's happening. So if I move the object, you see the object kind of moves through that texture. It's like passing through it, like it's filling up the space. Or if I move the Place 3D Texture node, it moves the texture through the object. Okay, so any object that's animated with a 3D texture is going to have this swimming problem, but there's an easy solution to that, which is to create a texture reference object. So in Maya 2018, it's under the rendering menu set under texturing and create texture reference object. And so what it's done is you've got your original sphere, but then it's got this additional sphere that's like a templated um, copy of the sphere. And so now when you move this sphere, you don't have that swimming problem anymore because it's looking at this templated sphere, seeing where the texture is on this one and telling this one to have that texture in the same place as that one does. That is to say, the one that's not moving. However, if I move the 3D texture placement node, you'll see it still moves because this is moving relative to that templated sphere. So anyways, from the texturing menu, select your object from. So in your scene, um, where you've got the this character with the vest with that swimming, just select the vest, go to texture, create texture reference object. Yeah, and I think it's looking good. I think that that part at the end is just going much too fast. So let's just watch it with audio one more time. Is there any audio here?
They send you here for life. That's exactly what they take.
So what you might want to do there is, since his body's not moving, is do more of a close-up shot rather than having the camera pull back there, so we can see his face move better. Or if you're going to do a wide shot, you should have at least some movement in the body, just enough to keep it alive. Maybe some breathing, or maybe a slight weight shift. Maybe he could, like, I don't know, like be kind of fiddling his fingers or just something, but just so he doesn't seem so frozen. And all these shots just go by too fast. They're less than a second each, and it's almost dizzying. So I think you need to you could definitely shorten your other shots,
They send you here for life.
And then lengthen these shots because they just go so fast. They don't have to be lengthened a lot, but just a little bit, because compared to everything else, they're so quick. But overall, you've done a good job. Next up is Ashley, and you asked about shadows in your play blast. I mean, really, you're mostly just going to get your shadows to look good in your render. So don't worry about the shadows in the play blast. And for the batch rendering, you can send me your scene file. I can take a look. But what it sounds like is that you don't have the render settings set correctly. All the individual frames just show the same picture over and over again. So what I'm guessing is in Maya, if I go into render settings in Maya, um, under common, renderable camera. So make sure you have the right renderable camera. So if you created a camera, like this one, and I look through that camera, and so let's say this is what I'm supposed to be looking at, that doesn't mean that's what in your render settings. So see, my camera is camera 1, but in my render settings it's set to render perspective. So what I'm guessing is happening with you, I can't know for sure without seeing the scene file, but I'm guessing that your renderable camera is not set correctly in your render settings. So check that. If that's not it, send me the scene file and I'll take a look. Okay, let's take a look at the video. the opener's great. I'm not going to spend any more time on that. Opening that first kind of shot, it's good. It's pretty dramatic. Um, it's got a nice sort of smooth movement, lands well. This is okay up to here, but then I think you need to cut out of this shot sooner because, like, they're basically, we're just looking at the ground now. They're pretty much out of the shot. So, and then kind of the same for this one. It's like we're looking at the shot they walked out of. So maybe go wider, or maybe just focus on one or the other of them there. But it's weird to have them both leave the shot on either side and be looking at, a mostly empty shot with the building. This looks good. It'd be great to get a little bit more movement in these characters here. Um, they're looking a little frozen. Some blinks, some facial expressions. If you're going to show the clock, show the minute hand tick one. And that you've got the draw, which is great, but get the body moving a little bit. Move the root, which is right here, like kind of shift it to one side and back or something. A little bit of head movement. Maybe the other arm has movement, but it looks like a completely frozen body and just moving arm because that's what's happening. But or stand up and do it yourself and kind of notice what body parts move and try to animate those as well. But yeah, it's coming together nicely. I think it needs that ending as well. So try to get an ending on there, but it's good progress. So next up is Brittany. I opened up this town file you sent and rendered it, so I'm not getting the same. So here's my render view where it didn't render out black. However, there's also doesn't seem to be any animation in here. Oh yeah, there is. It's just later on. Sorry. So, not sure why you're getting all black. Um, I just used you know, here's the render settings. I am using Maya software render. Don't know if that's what you used. We could take a look at what's going on with the lighting in your scene. So, there are lights in there. So, yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe you could show me a screen snapshot, or um, I don't know why it's coming out black for you. It didn't. Maybe you didn't wait long enough for it to render, or I just can only guess. But it is rendering for me. But let's just. The other thing I'm noticing is there's only the perspective view. So I'm wondering if you did the camera um, animation or not. Like if you've done your shots, or if it's all just in this one shot. But let's just see the animation you've got in here. So you've got the walk, the turn. That's it so far. Okay. Well, it looks like you'll need to, add the other character in, add more, add some camera cuts. So keep going. And I'd rather you get the basics in and at least get a play blast than, you know, get stuck just on the rendering step. So focus on the animation stuff, get the other character, do the camera shots, all the other animation and that stuff. And not, you know, and leave the rendering for the end. I mean, it does take a long time to render, so, but I'd rather you finish the animation and turn in a play blast than you not even do the animation. So keep going, and just let me know if you need help. Next up is Cody. Okay, yeah, it's looking good so far. And you didn't get it rendered, but that's okay at this point. Like I said before, I'd rather see a playlist than no render. The walks look good. You could get a little more kind of side to side motion. Maybe try to get more twist, and maybe get a little bit of wrist movement. Maybe get the feet kind of going one in front of the other rather than being so parallel. I like that shot. It's nice composition. Um, Again, you get some facial movement, facial expressions, and blinks and stuff on there. If you're going to show the clock, show the minute hand tick one, so we're looking at something. What I like about this actually here is that it's, you can see that there's some attention paid to the movement of the hand. You can see the hand open up and then close, You can see it lift the gun out. You've taken the time to accurately pose the hand carefully on the gun, which is really good. So it shows some attention to detail. And same here, like you've clearly carefully got thy finger through the on the trigger and posed each finger and took some time to do that right. So yeah, it's coming along well. I think it needs some kind of ending on there. So keep going with this. And yeah, if you need any help, let me know.